Okay, our next speaker is going to be telling us about the reintroduction of resilient honeybees into the wild in the Netherlands.
Good afternoon. I want to tell you a little bit about an experiment we've just started to trial, but we are already very pleased with it. We have not so many results yet, but it's a nice thing to do. So we want to rewild honeybees in the Netherlands. Last year we wrote a paper about a plea for more natural ways of beekeeping, because we know that honeybees have their own resilience, and actually we think you could use more in beekeeping. But not only in beekeeping, we need to use resilient honeybees. Also honeybees that are out there, and we have not so many in Europe. Already more, I think, here in the New World. But our honeybees are in Europe endemic species, so they belong in nature. But we need cavities, because we do not have left so many hollow trees. Already since the Middle Ages we cut them down. There is another thing that is very important for the bees when they have to live in the wild, but also I think in beekeeping. Honeybees are a wild species, but the wild colonies have a big problem if most of the bees around are from kept managed colonies. Because they are, like other colonies, now confronted with varroa, and of course everything going with varroa. And they are confronted also with the managed colonies, and the managed colonies are varroa controlled by most of the beekeepers. So there is no chance for a wild colony to evolve resistance, because the queens from the wild colonies most probably mate with drones from the kept colonies. However, we found that at several places, and this is the example of Arno Forest, of Tonsili, and of Yves Le Comte in France, we see that nevertheless bees can cope with this in the wild. And also the experiment of Ingemar Vries showed actually that when bees are brought out in the wild, they can survive without help of beekeepers. That's a hopeful sign for us as beekeepers, I suppose. We are not needed actually. So here are a few examples that are well described in literature about examples that bees can cope, our bees can cope in nature without any help of beekeepers, and despite the presence of varroa. I will not go through them all, but they have arrived there a little bit different sometimes really in nature, sometimes colonies that reverted to the wild from beekeepers' apiaries, and also sometimes actually allowed by beekeepers by some kind of passive selection, natural selection. This is also what we did. So we used natural selection approach to get resistant bees to varroa. We did this now for 12 years, and we have now colonies that can rather well cope with varroa, and nevertheless can be used in beekeeping also very well. And the scheme, what we used, has been published this year in Biological Invasions. So we have colonies in this, the 12 years that I talked about, and generally we have a lot of mites in them, but it remains actually between 5 and 10% in colonies that have no brood. So that's the real maximum infestation we have. We also have shown that we did not select only on traits, but we did select on fitness, on survival of the colonies and on fitness. And in the end, we found out that we did, of course, select on several traits, and we found out that we had effects on the reproduction of varroa. So many mice do not reproduce, or do reproduce less, have less daughters. We also had in some colonies we had higher varroa-sensitive hygiene. We did not find any effects on grooming, and also not on the normal hygienic behavior by free-scale brood test. But at least we did see that our colonies can survive varroa and are healthy. So we think now we are ready to go back to nature. Because to be able to live in nature, colonies need to be able to find their own food. The forage, they have to be able to solve the varroa problem. And that's a big difficulty in our country, find nest sites. So therefore we thought, okay, we can help them a little bit more. Let's add nest cavities. So what we did is 3 locations, remote. That's not easy in the Netherlands because we are living, my neighbor is of course only 1 meter living from apart from me, so we are very close. Also the beehives are very close, but we found some places. There needs to be enough forage, not too much. We have sometimes problems with too much forage in autumn. We need to get acceptance from beekeepers, because some beekeepers think that they are really needed in this world, and conservationists who think that the bees are from the Romans and we do not like the Romans. What we did actually is we hang out Sealy swarm boxes, I call them. We made them from red cedarwood. They have 40 to 45 liters of room with a narrow entrance mounted in bees, mounted in the trees at 5 meters. According to Sealy's bees, they want to even have higher, but I find it too dangerous. I'm already 65, so to climb. And we said, in this vicinity of these 3 locations, we put there 5 of our selected colonies that are Varroa resistant to serve as the donor colonies to set out the swarms. So this is the hives we made. I say it's after Sealy, but of course you can make them from other materials also. We have thick walls, they have 45 liters, and we have the entrance almost at the bottom. We have 3 locations in the Netherlands. Actually, the nice thing is they go high in the trees at 5 meters, but I think most of them are still below sea level. So. And yes, that's how we did it. But even below sea level, you can fall from the ladder, so we had to take it. And so that small apiary we had in addition to it, and then you can see that we were waiting for swarms, and then in the end, yes, we found that some of the hives were occupied. So what we're now doing, the actions and some results. So we mounted nest boxes on 3 locations. We did this in April, May last year, this spring, and we placed 5 colonies outdoor, 5 donor colonies around there. They already swarmed. We did it 2 ways, or till 2 weeks after we hang out the boxes, and they were ready to swarm when we did it. And actually, I think we already made our first mistake there, because we had many prime swarms coming out in the next weeks, but they did not find our hives, because we had given them too little time to scout. So later we found that secondary swarms, and later in the season, were very well able to find our boxes, and so now we have on one place occupied only 0, and on another place, the last time I was there 1, and on one place already 5. What we also do is we sampled from donor colonies 30 drones each to do genotyping of the colony. And donor colonies we feed if needed, because we want to have them making swarms again next spring. And we follow, of course, the occupation of the nests, and we sample forages of occupied nests to look at what's the origin, and if needed, we add new donors from our selection program. So let's hope that they survive next winter, and thanks for listening. Okay, if anyone has questions, please. It seems that we have time enough.
Which arrangements did you find with the veterinary system?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Which arrangements did you find with the veterinary system? Not to treat these bees and...
we are not obliged in our country to treat against Varroa. So we're just doing not Varroa treatment in our selection program.
What race of bees did you use? Was it mellifera mellifera, or it was?
Yes, actually all bees in our country are a little bit hybrid, but it has the most of the traits of mellifera mellifera. Yeah.
Did you use any bait in the hives to attract the bees?
No, actually we did not, but the only thing was that the top bars we did put some wax on, but we did not use old cons or other baits to. No.
How long do you expect to track the wild hives now, and what kinds of studies will you perform to see how they're doing?
Yes, we have at least for this program now 4 years, but I hope we can continue ever. I will be retired in 2 years, so I have time, plenty, I suppose.
So I have a two-part question. Do you have any results yet as to your success or failure rate? Any trend as to whether you're succeeding or not?
No, only that I see that I have 5 of the boxes occupied in one place and one in another, and not yet one in the third one.
So for how long has that been?
That's because we started in May, and so it's this
year?
summer. It was this summer, yeah. So we just started.
And the reverse is we're all trying to catch swarms. You're trying to move your bees out, which is a little bit unnatural. How do you actually get your bees moved from a conventional site to a wild site?
Now, actually, what we did was bringing in our own bees of our own selection because they can survive it for a while. So we brought in our own colonies and we let them swarm. So they are at the same area, they are in the same woods.
But they've relocated from a conventional hive to a wild site?
Yes, the swarms go out to the swarm boxes, but they are in conventional hives, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks for your talk. I have 3 questions. One, and I'm sorry if you've mentioned this, but the surface area of where you put the hives and the trees, did you mention the surface area?
The surface area of the area where they could forage?
Yes.
No, I did not, but in most places where we are, it's rather rich, so we have good forage, and the one wood is about, I think, in 5 kilometers around they are in the wood and a little bit agricultural area, and the other place is smaller, but I think some 3 kilometers area where they can forage. And the most southern place we had is in between agricultural area with dikes in between, and so it's mixed agriculture and nature, but they can go as far as they want.
Okay, thanks. And the second question is how, you mentioned you needed, one of the factors is to get the approval of the beekeepers and the conservationists. Were there beekeepers, were there managed bees in the forest that you put the hives in?
No, there are, in the forest there are no managed beekeepers, managed beehives around. In the agricultural area maybe, but not so close, because it's not that rich that the beekeepers get a nice honey for it. So, but the problem actually was not psychological, that the beekeepers were thinking you should not say that bees are better off without me than with me. Actually, that was the most, the prime objection.
Sorry, say that again?
The beekeepers object because they want to be needed by bees.
Okay.
And I say maybe the bees can better do without us.
And just one more question. So do you plan to go back to these hives or to add new hives in the future in these areas, in these 3 areas that you've chosen?
Yes, actually we hope that we can get standalone, self-sustaining populations, small populations, but as long as we do not have enough of the hives, of the boxes occupied, we would bring in some new colonies to swarm. Yes.
So there are other swarming boxes that exist already, and you're waiting for other bees to swarm?
At each location, we have placed a small apiary with our selected bees.
Right, okay.
And these can deliver the swarms that we need. Yes.
Great, thanks.
Okay.
When you mentioned that if the fall flow is too abundant, that can pose its own set of problems, what would those problems be?
Yes, actually we have it only in our country when we have in very wet environments, we have a lot of Himalaya balsam. This is the Impatiens glandulifera. And this gives so much nectar late in the summer and beginning of the autumn. that the bees go out of their hives because they fill it fully up with honey, and there is no brood for weeks and so on. So in the end, you have you cannot lift it, box with honey, but without any bees. So they are killed by that. It's some kind of suicide.
My question is the goal of your project. Did you want to just populate the area with bees, or you eventually would like to collect some honey?
No, we do not want to have honey. Actually, we always dream about the situation in Africa where most of the bees are the wild bees and only the beekeepers are just sideliners. And of course, formerly it has also been in our region before we started beekeeping. And I think it has very good effects also on beekeeping. And actually in the Netherlands we have only beekeeping for hobby. I think we have only 10 or maybe 20 beekeepers that do some earning a living from it. And all other beekeepers are hobbyists. So some of the hobbyists like to see the bees in the wild, like me.
So if
It's just fun.
if you will come back and bees not survive, would you do this job again? If you will come back to the area and bees not survive, you would find empty hives, would you do this job again, all over?
Yes, maybe. If I could learn which mistake we made, yes.